wouldn't want to talk about is exactly where she was, say, in the summer of 2020, the fall of 2020, the spring of 2021. Let any of the Democrats run back what they were saying about this pandemic and how dead wrong they got it about everything.
Yeah.
You have that on top of the fact they went all in on the vaccine and just lied their asses off about it, Fauci included, saying things he damn well knew they hadn't tested to be true.
Check out how Dave Smith absolutely dismantles Piers Morgan's woke panel. You won't believe what happened on Piers Morgan Uncensored. In this commentary, we dive into the intense debate where Dave Smith served up some serious heat against Piers Morgan's panel. From the controversial pardoning of Fauci with the auto pen to Trump's role in potentially overturning it. Dave really knows how to keep the conversation lively. Let's jump into this clip where Dave Smith takes on the woke narrative live on Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Legal expertise in the question of whether these auto signatures are legitimate or are not legitimate, and it's kind of an interesting legal question, I guess. But I think you hit the nail on the head in your opening there, Piers. It's like none of this would ever, there's no way you could make this claim short of the fact that we all know the former sitting president was so senile. And this is, I mean, these are the type of conversations every single political commentator, including the four of us here and everyone these are the type of conversations we were having privately throughout this whole the whole last year, at least, of the Biden administration. I mean, when you're at this level of mental decline, how much can everybody around you just abuse that? I mean, Joe Biden actually seemed at a state, at least toward the end of his administration, where a staffer could probably just tell him, "Oh no, you already said that yesterday." And he'd kind of have to go, "Yeah, I guess I did." And then I guess the bigger question than that, which I think really does rise above a legal question, is just how outrageous it is that the outgoing president would pardon Fauci. I mean, all of us know that in this whole debacle, which, by the way, this doesn't have to be a partisan issue because Donald Trump is very implicated in this too. He was the president of the United States of America through all of 2020. He's the one who kept Fauci on the job through the year of lockdowns. But the fact that Fauci was covering up the fact that his own or subsidiaries of his own agency had funded the lab where the whole thing came from, and then they covered that up and they accused everybody of being horrible racists or conspiracy theorists if they brought up the theory of where this virus originated.
Here's what I think. I agree a lot with what old Dave Smith has to say. If Fauci's guilty, we all know he's guilty. You can just see it on his face when you watch him on TV back whenever COVID was going on. But if Biden has to use the auto pen to sign it, I think if somebody needs to be pardoned, the president needs to sign the paper. Regardless. If it's Trump, if it's anybody else, the president, if they're going to pardon somebody, because it's a big deal, pardoning people, they should have to be the ones that sign it. Not some auto pen bullshit. Let me know down in the comments if you guys agree with that.
And then to impose lockdowns and mandates and just lie to the American people the whole way through. It's one of the gravest crimes that was ever committed by the U.S. government against the American people. And the idea that a president would give out blanket immunity for those crimes is so appalling that essentially I'm saying any way that we could undo these pardons, I support it. But it does bring up a fascinating question, and one that we talked about on a previous episode of this show, Piers. Yeah. There's questions about the Joe Biden resignation letter itself. It was such a bizarre way for a sitting president to announce a couple weeks before the convention that he wouldn't be seeking re-election. He did it through like a letter, not an address to the American people, and endorsement to Kamala Harris through a tweet. This is just so bizarre. It's like out of a crazy fiction novel or something. But I'm excited that people are looking into this.
You're so right about the Biden announcement. I was in New York, and I saw it on X, right? It just suddenly popped up that the president of the United States was effectively quitting. I was like, whoa, wait,
and Piers,
what?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Just one more quick announcement. I believe I was on your show in New York City the day after this happened.
Yes, you were.
But also, it It was a Sunday. That Sunday morning on the Sunday morning news shows, surrogates of the Biden campaign were going on and saying, what are you guys talking about? He's not dropping out. It's Trump versus Biden. Which one do you want? And then later that day, the president announces in this mysterious way. So bizarre.
That's how dumb the government thinks us, the American people, are. They were really going to try and push Biden out there for another 4 years. If they didn't have Kamala Harris to stand in as the dummy, the puppet, they would have pushed him for another 4 years in the election. Now, granted, I think Donald Trump would have just landslided him worse than what he did to Kamala Harris. But like, it's crazy that one day they said he's gonna go against Trump, and then I don't even think it was a day later. It was like half a day later, and they're announcing he's out of the race. Like, it was wild. But let me know down in the comments if you agree with that.
I was actually talking to President Trump the night before, who, if you remember, had made his first rally stump appearance since the assassination attempt. And I said to him then, I think you've got this election in the bag after this, because the American people are responding so well to your fight, fight, fight. And he went, the one thing I've learned this year, 3 months is a long time in this election cycle. And literally within about 12 hours, Biden had resigned. All right, Julie, there's a lot to unpack from Dave's increasingly spectacular rant there, which led to, I think he was basically implying that Fauci should be in jail by now, and many people might agree with him. But Julie, this issue of the pardons, I mean, if the president wasn't cognizant enough to even personally sign them.
Fauci and relitigating 2024, let's talk about the fact that President Trump used an auto pen to sign all of the pardons for the January 6th insurrectionists who literally assaulted our Capitol and the seat of our democracy. So if you want to talk about that, is President Trump not compos mente to sign them himself? That he used an auto pen to I don't blame him for not wanting to sign his own signature to pardoning insurrectionists, but that's exactly what he didn't do. So let's look at this from a really, really realistic perspective. There's nothing in the Constitution that has the auto pen exclusion. And President Biden is still very much alive to tell us that he, in fact, wanted and did pardon the people that he pardoned. So this whole thing is crazy.
Biden didn't even realize who he was pardoning. Like, his brain's melted. We all know that. Just like I was saying earlier, if they're wanting to do pardons, they need to sign them themselves. There should be no auto pen feature for the president.
It's done to rile up the base. It's done to tie up the courts. Or even the Supreme Court is going to say this is ridiculous because auto pens have been used consistently in signing documents over and over and over again in this administration.
I should rephrase that. They can use the auto pen, but not to pardon. You can do it for any other document. If you're going to pardon somebody, like, you need to be the one signing it, and that's just what makes the most common sense to me. But let me know down in the comments if you agree with that.
In the previous administration, in the first Trump administration. So there's no auto pen exclusion to the United States Constitution. But I understand why Dave wants to talk about Anthony Fauci. He wants to talk about anything other than the fact that, of course, this president, the one we have right now, pardoned January 6th insurrectionists. And you have the temerity after that to talk about Anthony Fauci, who I think did the best he could. Under very challenging circumstances. He did not pardon people who were convicted by a jury of their peers and sentenced to decades in prison for attacking the United States Capitol and putting in harm's way not just Democrats, but even Mike Pence.
At historic lows of popularity in America. Historic. Never, ever had worse numbers.
If you enjoy content like this, make sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps us out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Of public approval for their performance in recorded history. And that's polls from NBC and other very reputable news organizations. What does that tell us about the state of American politics? To me, the Democrats can howl away about Trump. This has been their go-to plan with him for many years. Yeah. It doesn't work. And actually, all it says to me is they don't have a plan, and they don't have a messenger for a plan that can galvanize America to be an alternative. Their only plan is to demonize Trump. Well, we've seen that playbook for many years, and people are just not buying it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Piers, when you think about it, it's the Democrats' approval ratings are shockingly high. I mean, after everything we've been through in the last few years, I can't believe there's anybody who stands by. I find it's kind of, I must say, it's kind of amusing to hear Julie. I used to know Julie back in the
I don't even know how the Democratic Party is still even a party, like to run for anything after the things they've screwed up over the however long, 16 years they've been screwing it up. Ever since Obama got in there, they've been screwing it up. But yeah, let me know down in the comments if you agree that Fauci should not have been pardoned and if he should be thrown in jail, thrown in prison. That was Dave Smith's take on the woke narrative on Piers Morgan Uncensored.